Have you ever found yourself clinging to someone who was pulling away? Or maybe you've been the one backing off. The closer someone gets, the more you want to run. Sometimes, love feels like a safe haven. Other times, like a battlefield. But here's the truth, no one tells us. The way you love isn't random, it's patterned, wired deep into your nervous system. And it all began before you even had words for it. Welcome back to PsychBytes, where we unpack the psychology behind the way we feel, relate, and heal. Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful forces shaping your relationships, attachment styles. These aren't just personality quirks or emotional habits. They're the silent scripts that guide how close we get to others, how we respond to intimacy, and why we either trust or push away. And once you understand your attachment style, everything, from your past heartbreaks to your current patterns, starts to make sense. So whether you feel too much, too little, or nothing at all, this is for you. So attachment styles, right? Well, what are they actually? Let me ask you, have you ever wondered why you pull away just when someone starts to get close? Or why you tend to fall for people who can't seem to love you back the way you need? Maybe it feels like love always ends in a pattern you didn't choose, but somehow keep repeating. That's not a character flaw. It's not bad luck. It's likely your attachment style. Attachment styles are the emotional blueprints we unconsciously carry into every relationship. They're not something we choose. They're formed during childhood, long before we even understand what the word relationship means, shaped by the way we were cared for, the consistency of that care, and how safe we felt when expressing our needs. Think of attachment as your inner compass for connection. It guides how you bond, how you trust, how you interpret closeness, and even how you respond to conflict. It's why some people crave deep emotional intimacy while others feel smothered by it. It's why some partners anxiously check their phones every time they're left on red, while others pull away when things start feeling real. Psychologists first explored this in the 1950s through the work of John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. They noticed that infants responded very differently to being separated and reunited with their caregivers. Some reached out, some panicked, some froze or avoided. These early reactions weren't just momentary behaviors. They became lasting internal models of how love and safety work. There are 4 primary attachment styles: secure, anxious, avoidant, and fearful-avoidant, sometimes called disorganized. Each one comes with its own strengths, challenges, and needs. And the tricky part? We often play out these patterns on autopilot, attracted to people who reinforce our blueprint, even when it hurts. But here's the good news. Your attachment style isn't a life sentence. It's a starting point, a way to understand yourself more deeply. Once you recognize your style and how it shows up, you can begin to rewrite the patterns. You can learn to respond, not react, to express, not suppress, and most importantly, to love in ways that feel safe, free, and real. So now let's break down the 4 commonly known attachment styles. But before we dive into them, take a moment to think about your own experience with love, the patterns, the pullbacks, the moments you've felt safe, and the ones you didn't. Attachment isn't about labeling yourself or others. It's about awareness of the invisible forces that shape how we give and receive love. What you're about to discover isn't a diagnosis, it's a mirror, one that can reflect not just your wounds, but your capacity to heal. So as we explore these styles, try to hold them with curiosity, not judgment. This is about understanding your emotional roots and giving yourself permission to grow beyond them. First, let's talk about the secure attachment style, the foundation of healthy love. Imagine a love where you don't have to guess if you're valued, because you just know, where closeness feels comforting, not claustrophobic. This is the world of secure attachment. People with a secure attachment style grew up with caregivers who were consistent, attuned, and emotionally available. They weren't perfect, but they were present. When the child cried, someone came. When the child explored, someone watched with encouragement. Over time, the child internalized a simple but powerful belief: I am safe, I matter, love is dependable. As adults, Securely attached individuals tend to be emotionally open and responsive. They're comfortable with intimacy, but also respect boundaries. They don't play games to test love or fear losing it at every turn. Conflict doesn't mean abandonment. It's just something to work through together. But here's something important to understand. Secure doesn't mean flawless. Securely attached people still get triggered, feel jealous, or have bad days. The difference lies in how they recover. They communicate, they self-soothe, they ask for what they need without guilt or shame, and they listen without defensiveness. What's beautiful about secure attachment is how it creates emotional space for both partners to be fully themselves. There's room for independence without distance, and closeness without fear of enmeshment. If you grew up with inconsistent or hurtful caregivers, secure attachment might feel like a foreign language. But attachment isn't destiny, it's plastic. It's shaped early, yes, but it can be reshaped through therapy, conscious relationships, and consistent self-work. Also, some people don't start out securely attached but develop it later. This is called earned secure attachment, and it's just as valid. It comes from doing the hard work of healing, learning to trust, and creating new emotional templates. Maybe you've already started this journey without even knowing. In relationships, secure partners offer a stabilizing force. They help anxious partners feel safer. They give avoidant ones room to breathe without withdrawing love. And when two securely attached people come together, love becomes a sanctuary, not a battlefield. So if this resonates with you, you may already be standing on solid emotional ground. And if it doesn't, that's okay. The goal isn't to judge where you are, it's to understand how you got there and where you want to go next. Now, let's discuss anxious attachment. When love feels like a test, you're always failing. Have you ever felt like love is always just one step away from slipping through your fingers? Like no matter how much reassurance you get, it's never quite enough? That's the inner landscape of anxious attachment. People with an anxious attachment style often grew up in environments where love was inconsistent, sometimes warm and available, other times withdrawn or distracted. The emotional rhythm was unpredictable. One day your caregiver hugged you tightly, the next they seemed distant, irritated, or unavailable. This creates a deep internal conflict. Love is possible, but I must work hard to keep it. If I'm not enough, it'll disappear. As adults, this early blueprint shows up as a constant need for closeness and validation. Anxiously attached individuals tend to worry that their partner might lose interest, pull away, or stop loving them without warning. This can lead to overthinking every text, needing frequent reassurance, or interpreting silence as rejection. But it's not neediness that defines anxious attachment. It's the fear of emotional abandonment. When you're anxiously attached, your emotional thermostat is set to high sensitivity. You pick up on small changes in tone, delays in replies, or perceived distance, and your nervous system goes into overdrive. What did I do wrong? Are they upset? Are they leaving me? This can lead to protest behaviors, excessive texting, clinging, jealousy, or pushing someone away just to see if they'll come back. It's not manipulation, it's desperation for security. You're trying to regulate your emotional panic by controlling the relationship because deep down, love feels like something that could be taken away at any moment. But here's the truth. Your longing for deep connection isn't wrong. In fact, it's your greatest strength. Anxiously attached people love hard. They care deeply. They're emotionally tuned in. The work lies not in changing the sensitivity, but in soothing the panic behind it. With self-awareness, therapy, and safe relationships, anxious attachment can heal. You can learn to anchor within yourself instead of in someone else's mood. You can learn to trust that love isn't always on the verge of ending. And one day, love won't feel like a test. It'll feel like a home you no longer have to earn. Then comes the avoidant attachment style, when closeness feels like a threat. Well, let me ask you, what do you do when someone gets too close? Do you start to feel suffocated, even if you like them? Do you pull away after a good date, ignore texts when you're overwhelmed, or feel the urge to retreat the moment things become emotionally intense? If any of this sounds familiar, you might be leaning toward an avoidant attachment style. Avoidantly attached individuals often grow up in environments where emotional needs weren't acknowledged or welcomed. Maybe vulnerability was seen as weakness. Maybe independence was rewarded, while expressing fear or sadness was met with indifference or even punishment. Over time, the child learns, I can't rely on others. I have to take care of myself. If I need less, I hurt less. So as adults, avoidant people tend to prize autonomy. They're self-sufficient, emotionally restrained, and uncomfortable with too much closeness. Intimacy isn't rejected outright. It's just managed, kept at a safe distance. They might crave connection, but only when it's on their terms and only up to a point. They often find themselves attracted to emotionally intense people, then overwhelmed by those very emotions. They might ghost without meaning to hurt anyone or become distant in moments when their partner needs them most. It's not that they don't care. It's that closeness has been wired in their nervous system as a threat. Vulnerability feels like a loss of control. The tricky thing? Avoidant individuals often don't realize they're doing this. They'll say things like, I just need space, or I'm not ready for something serious, while deep down, a quiet fear hums beneath the surface. If I open up, I'll lose myself. But avoidance isn't an emotional flaw. It's a protective strategy, one that made perfect sense in an environment where emotions weren't safe. And like all attachment styles, it's not fixed. With self-reflection, therapy, and safe relationships, avoidant individuals can learn to stay present, to regulate discomfort, and to connect without feeling engulfed. Because closeness doesn't have to mean losing yourself. Sometimes it's how you finally find yourself, with someone who sees you fully and stays. Lastly, let's discuss the fearful avoidant attachment, when love feels like chaos. Imagine craving intimacy so badly that it aches, while also fearing that the moment you get close, you'll get hurt. Imagine pulling someone in with all your heart, only to push them away as soon as they step closer. That's the painful paradox of fearful avoidant attachment, also known as disorganized attachment. This style often develops from early environments marked by trauma, neglect, or unpredictability, where the very people a child looked to for safety were also the source of fear. It sends a confusing message. I need you, but I can't trust you. And the child learns to split their emotional responses, seeking closeness, but also protecting themselves from it. They grow up in emotional chaos, and that chaos becomes their normal. In adulthood, this looks like inconsistency. One moment, they're deeply affectionate. The next, they shut down completely. They may idealize their partner, then suddenly become cold, critical, or distant. Relationships feel like emotional whiplash. Warm, then cold. All in, then gone. Not because they don't love deeply, but because love feels dangerous. Fearful avoidant individuals often battle intense inner conflict. They want connection, but feel unworthy of it. They long for vulnerability, but fear betrayal. They may distrust others, but also don't fully trust themselves to handle intimacy. It's exhausting for them and for the people who love them. And unlike purely anxious or avoidant styles, the fearful avoidant person oscillates between both. When they feel close, they panic. When they distance themselves, they ache. It's a constant push-pull. Don't leave me, but don't get too close. But even in this turmoil, there is hope. Fearful avoidant attachment can begin to heal through emotional regulation, trauma-informed therapy, and relationships that model consistency and compassion. It's a longer path, one that often involves revisiting and rewriting the past, but it's possible. Healing begins with safety, with slowing down the panic, with learning that love doesn't have to be unpredictable to be real. If this resonates with you, know this. Your past made sense of the chaos the only way it knew how. But now, you get to choose differently. You get to move toward love that calms your nervous system instead of triggering it. And in time, connection won't feel like chaos. It'll feel like peace you didn't know was possible. So, obvious question now. How do these styles play out in adult relationships? Well, attachment styles aren't just theory. They show up in real life, in real relationships, in quiet moments and explosive arguments. They show up in who we're drawn to, how we communicate, and why the same emotional patterns seem to repeat, even when the people change. Take the anxious partner. They often fall hard and fast. Their heart is wide open, but they're hyper-attuned to any sign of withdrawal. A late reply, a shift in tone, a canceled plan, and suddenly their nervous system spirals. The fear kicks in. Are they losing interest? Did I do something wrong? To soothe that fear, they reach out more texts, more check-ins, more emotional intensity. Now picture that paired with an avoidant partner. They like connection, but only to a point. The moment it starts to feel emotionally heavy or demanding, they back away. Not because they don't care, but because they feel overwhelmed, invaded, or like they're losing control. To them, space equals safety. What happens? The anxious partner reaches out more. The avoidant pulls back harder. The more one clings, the more the other distances. And suddenly, two people who genuinely care about each other are caught in a painful loop of chasing and fleeing. Fearful avoidant individuals get caught in both roles. They might pull someone close, then panic and push them away, repeating the very unpredictability they once survived. Even secure individuals, when paired with highly dysregulated partners, may begin to question themselves. Am I the problem? Why does love feel so exhausting? And yet, all of this isn't meant to label or limit you. It's meant to help you understand what's happening beneath the surface. Because attachment styles aren't just about how you behave, they're about how you protect yourself. From pain, from loss, from feeling too much or not enough. But when you begin to see your patterns, really see them, you stop fighting your partner and start healing with them. Because relationships aren't about fixing each other. They're about becoming aware together. Well, can you really change your attachment style? The short answer, yes. Your attachment style is not a fixed identity. It's a response, a survival map drawn during your earliest relationships. And like any map, it can be revised. You're not stuck with the emotional blueprint you inherited. You can rewire it. You can relearn what love feels like when it's safe. Psychologists call this process earned secure attachment. When someone who grew up with insecure or chaotic bonds gradually becomes more emotionally regulated, more open, more secure in themselves and their connections. And it doesn't require a perfect partner or a perfect life. It just requires intention and emotional safety. Sometimes healing begins in therapy, through a consistent, non-judgmental relationship that helps you slowly trust again. Sometimes it begins in a healthy partnership, one that holds space for your fear without feeding it, that doesn't punish your need for space or reassurance, but meets it with steadiness. And sometimes it starts with you, with learning to pause when you want to react, with noticing your triggers without judging them, with offering yourself the kind of patience you always needed, but never received. The brain is beautifully plastic, which means every small act of awareness, every repair after rupture, every honest moment of vulnerability, it all counts. It all rewires. So yes, you can change your attachment style. You can become the kind of partner you never thought you could be, not because you pretend to be someone else, but because you finally return to the most authentic version of yourself. Well, I hope that wasn't too heavy. Now let's pause for a moment, have some reflections, and try to gather everything together for once. So much of how we love, how we connect, how we fear, how we fight or flee, traces back to patterns we didn't consciously choose. But now, you have the power of awareness, and that changes everything. Maybe you saw yourself in the anxious heart that just wants to be held, or in the avoidant one who's terrified of losing their sense of self and love. Maybe you've been caught in the chaos of the fearful avoidant push-pull, or maybe you're already standing on more secure ground and wondering how to help someone else feel safe with you. Wherever you are, this isn't a diagnosis. It's a mirror, a reflection of what shaped you, not a sentence of who you'll always be. And if there's one thing you take away from this video, let it be this. Your attachment style isn't your fault, but healing it is your freedom. Because love doesn't have to feel like survival. It can feel like softness, safety, home. But to get there, we need more than just attraction. We need emotional maturity, that ability to pause instead of react, to stay when it's hard, to love without losing ourselves. And that's exactly what we explore in our video called Why Emotional Maturity in Relationships Matter So Much. If you've ever wondered why love falls apart even when the feelings are strong, this one's for you. Thank you for spending this time with us on PsychBytes. If this video helped you understand yourself or your relationships a little more clearly, please give it a like, share it with someone who needs it, and most importantly, subscribe. Because healing starts with awareness. And awareness, that's what we're here for. Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and remember, the way you love can always evolve. See you in the next one.